Good afternoon and welcome to, another Wednesday, which means Powered 4SP3. How you doing, buddy?
I am doing well. It is Wednesday. That is SP3 day on your YouTube channels. First up, we got Powered4SP3 on the Powered4 TV YouTube channel. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone watching us live. All those Powered 4 heads in the live chat. I know they are there. The usual suspects, the people I disagree with, the people I agree with. I love all of y'all unconditionally, whether I agree or disagree with some of your comments. I am happy to be here with John Scott. You made the crossover to Tru Heel Heat last Friday. Now I'm back here.
Oh, yes.
It's all love. It's the Powered4 TV family all coming together. I love it.
As one, SP3. Yeah, I forgot about last week's cameo that I had on your show. Man, it just shows how busy my weekend's been. But I completely forgot. Yes, I made a quick appearance on the Dynamite Kid episode from Dark Side of the Ring. So go ahead and check that out if you already haven't. It was really good because kind of like a lot's come out of it since. I've seen so many articles since and so many people like that maybe didn't quite understand the Dynamite Kid. But do you know what? I still got that image in my head, SP3, of that 1996 return. And just, man, it was, words can't describe it. You got to kind of see the image, the photo. But go ahead, check out the review. It's well worth it. Now, before we get into the show, I'm going to do a massive shout out to one of the people, Carl Rogers, that we support on this show. He's an amazing young man. He's really worked very hard over the last year to get his podcast up and running. He come to us last year at Powered4 because he'd been rejected a lot around the wrestling community, and I think he was struggling a little bit. So we tried to help him out. But to be honest with you, it's all on him. He's done a terrific job. And this past week, he gave us a wonderful message that I'm going to play right now. It's literally 20 seconds. So let's put this on right now for Mr. Carl Rogers.
Hi, Powered4 TV, John and Richard and all the staff. I have a special guest here, and he wants to say a massive thank you to you from me.
Hey, what is going on, guys? It's me, Chuck Mambo, the gnarliest wrestler in the world, and I just want to say thank you for supporting Kyle. He is a tremendous podcaster. He is a great dude, and I think he's doing a great job. So thank you for giving him the platform. All the best.
There you go, the one and only Chuck Mambo, who I can't recognize with his different hairstyle, to be quite honest with you. So it threw me out a little bit. But good old Chuck Mambo, who you can see at Progress Wrestling in the very near future. But thank you very much, Carl. It means a lot to us. And, we're happy to have you here. SP3, I know you're his favorite on the entire Powered4 host. You are the one. So I thought it would only make sense if I was to announce, put that video out on this show. I told him earlier I would do it. But yeah, I'm trying to get Carl to get 100 subscribers. He's on 70. He's 30 shy. So anybody listening, give an underdog, a chance. Go over, check him out. He's not only got Chuck Mambo on an interview this week, he's also got Charles Crowley coming on next week. So he's got a couple of good ones coming out. So check that out over at Carl's Wrestling. He'll be very thankful for that. But SP3, let's start the show. Let's keep the comments coming in. Man, I think this is our first one, as a matter of fact, and it's from none other than Brett Thomas with a super sticker. Well done, Brett. Thank you very much for that. Very, very appreciative. We have got this ability to get super stickers and super chats and all the rest of it. I don't always advertise it as I should. Yes. But I'm very, very grateful when people do. So thank you very much, Brett. We will get to your questions very soon.
And if Brett is watching us live, please, Brett, please comment on one of the Tru Heel Heat videos and give me your social media handle, because he also super chatted us on Tru Heel Heat. And this Saturday, we are having our live Tru Heel Heat 130 with our call-in special. So we're sending out the link to everyone who has supported us, sent us a super chat in our first month of being able to monetize on the channel. I know if Rachel Cornell is watching this on live, or on demand, please comment here or comment on Tru Heel Heat, your social media handle. There's a couple of folks that's crossed over from Powered 4 TV community to Tru Heel Heat that's been supporting us, but I don't have your social media handles to give you the link. I'm not going to post a link in the live chat because then we'll have 101 people that haven't supported us in the waiting room, and I'm just going to be like, I can't put you in because you haven't supported us. But I want to definitely send that invitation to Brett as well as Rachel. They've been supporting us so much. So thank you, Brett, for supporting it over here. I see you've been doing it a lot lately. So that Logan Paul and Jake Paul money's been coming in for you, buddy.
Yeah, that's for sure. He definitely needs to get a PR gig with them. I've told him that last week. But thank you very much, Brett. And yes, I know Rachel Carnell, I think, was another one that you wanted on. She's got to get her social handle. So if you're watching, Rachel, let SP3 know, and they can get a hold of you, especially for the big show, the call-in show. And you were right there, SP3. You don't want to just share that out because you'll be in a lot of trouble that day. I had a really long load of comment come in from El Sicano, and it did tickle me a little bit. It's like three comments in one, so I'll read it out. But it's basically just something that tickled me when I read it. I don't know why. But he's put, so I was watching Calgary wrestling with a friend who has all kind of old tapes. Stu is sitting right up against the ring as he liked to watch close up as the promoter. The heels get crazy and fans, and then this is where we go to be continued. Start throwing all kinds of shit. I think we can basically say that reads in the ring, including drinks, popcorn. My friend I watched this with says, watch this. Anyway, a whole popcorn lands on the ring apron right in front of Stu. And then finishing up lastly, and you can see it on TV on the wide shot, as it's all kicking off with fans and heels, Stu starts eating the popcorn. It was so funny as the arena was going nuts to see Stu munching down. You know what? I can just envision that, SP3. Like, Stu's out there. He was very laid back. I mean, he weren't moving quick for nobody, Stu Hart, I tell you. And he was a very strict promoter. But I think that's how he used to run Calgary. I do actually think he just used to sit there just watching up, making sure the guys didn't make a ricket of anything, because he'd tell them straight there and then. He wouldn't wait to go back through the curtain. He'd probably tell them. But yeah, there he goes. He just starts munching down on a bit of popcorn as it's all going crazy. But it made me smile, because I could just envision Stu doing that as well. But SP3, on to this week's, obviously, what's been going on. And, some of the big news here. Samoa Joe return plus NXT recap. Man, this was, it wasn't very kept secret, was it, this one? This had made its rounds quite a bit. And I kind of was scratching my head, SP3, and I thought, I wonder if WWE might be really smart. And we have Samoa Joe come out, but he's not going to be this, the GM or the commissioner or whatever. Like, they might do a U-turn and he's something else. But no, they just went straight with it. Didn't change the storyline. Forget that. If the internet knows it, they know it. They never kind of think on their feet. Oh, okay, let's throw them a curveball. Tell us a little bit about this. Obviously, it's made the rounds. People are a little bit confused as to why Samoa Joe has gone back. So, shed some light on this one, my friend.
So it was first reported by Sean Ross Sapp and the great people over at Fightful Select. They were the first ones that reported that Samoa Joe had been seen at the Performance Center last week, and there was talks of him being brought back to WWE NXT. Then PW Insider reported that Triple H was apparently very upset with Samoa Joe's release back in April, and he immediately grabbed up Joe and made the decision to bring him back to NXT as soon as he was released by WWE. Now, you can understand that Triple H was the guy who basically did the negotiations and brought Samoa Joe into WWE in 2015. He gave him a great deal where Samoa Joe was able to, finish up his indie dates. He did a date with Ring of Honor, got the great photo with him, Kazarian, Daniels, and AJ Styles at that time. He was able to keep his own name and really develop his own, persona in WWE initially. Not too many guys come in from outside of WWE and come in with their name still kept. Looking at you, Taya Valkyrie, but Samoa Joe was able to do that, and that tells you the type of relationship that he had with Triple H. It still seems like he's not medically cleared, so that's why they have decided to bring him back in a absolute, I will say, one of the best WWE segments of the whole entire year. From beginning to end, just watch the first 15 minutes of NXT this week. You had William Regal come out following TakeOver in Your House this past Sunday. William Regal, he's been trying to break up, pull apart brawls, over the last couple of weeks. And at TakeOver, he said, he's never had this much bedlam in NXT in his 7 years as being the general manager. So he thought it was time for a change. So he came out to start the show, and he cut a very emotional speech talking about his 7 years with NXT, talking about starting off at the announce table for the very first TakeOver, and then filling the spot as general manager, being able to sit with his nieces in Blackpool during an NXT show. They've been all around the world. They started off as a small little brand, and now they've become the third brand on USA. He's brought in talent from all over the world, and he had tears in his eyes, and he sounded like he was about to relinquish or retire as NXT general manager. But then Karrion Kross came down, and Karrion Kross, with his defiant persona last week on NXT at the end of the show, he told William Regal that he's lost control and that he was taking control of NXT with chaos. So he decided to get in Regal's face and tell him that he wants to be here and hear him say to the fans that he's lost control, that Karrion Kross is in control, and that he's leaving now. And then as soon as he says that, you hear the music, the signature music of Samoa Joe, and a great facial expression by Karrion Kross. I have to hand it to him. He had a great reaction to that. Samoa Joe came out and cut a beautiful promo talking about his time in NXT, talking about all the chaos that he raised on Regal. Regal offered to, step down as general manager, and he wanted Samoa Joe to take his place, but Joe said he wouldn't. He said that, even when he was in NXT and he was causing chaos for him, he always had a level of respect for him. So he wanted to be the man that would enforce the respect for William Regal now on the NXT roster. So he's basically being like his enforcer. It's kind of a take off of, when Stone Cold was the sheriff back in 2003, 2004. That's what kind of Samoa Joe's role is going to be. I thought it was an excellent segment. Samoa Joe getting in Karrion Kross's face. I know a whole bunch of fans of Samoa Joe, like myself. I've been a fan of Joe since his Ring of Honor title run in 2003. To see him face to face with Karrion Kross, it was like, ooh, I want to see this match. And then we got a whole bunch of teases throughout the night, like him going face to face with Pete Dunne, which was like, oh, I want to see this match. Him interacting with The Way, Johnny Gargano, and Austin Theory. I was like, oh, I love to see this match. So there was plenty of teases throughout the night. We saw a pull apart brawl between Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole, which sets up another, I don't understand why, but another unsanctioned matchup between Cole and O'Reilly at Great American Bash. I don't understand.
They love these unsanctioned matches, don't they?
But I don't understand how you do an unsanctioned match at TakeOver to set up another unsanctioned matchup a couple of months later. It makes no sense. But that
you know what I can see happening, SP3. Much like all these other gimmick pay-per-views, they'll probably have a pay-per-view called Unsanctioned.
Oh Jesus Christ! I hope not.
Fact,
I hope not.
Don't listen to that if anyone's out there, because they probably would take me up on that.
Exactly. You got connections with WWE. They're probably watching this, and don't give them any ideas like that. But
I don't want that.
That seems like that's going to be the main event in 3 weeks on the Great American Bash special that they have on July 6th. But the pull apart brawl didn't stop there when Regal made the match. He also said that both men would pick their opponents for next week's episode of NXT, but the brawl still continued. Then Samoa Joe stepped in. He was pushed aside by Adam Cole, and he just yoked up Adam Cole. He was told earlier in the night when he did take on the role of enforcer that he wouldn't be able to compete in NXT if he was taking on this role, and that he wouldn't be able to touch any of the talent unless physically provoked. And by Adam Cole pushing him, he was physically provoked, and he choked out Adam Cole, and Adam Cole went down, and he basically told security that when he wakes up, let him know to tell Regal his decision. And that was just great. Everything that Samoa Joe touched on this show was just awesome. He brought a level of energy, adrenaline, and just his presence is just so awesome to see. It's been so missed. You know, I loved him in his commentary role on Raw, but he needed to be a character. He needs to be a character in professional wrestling. And if he's not medically cleared to be a professional wrestler, I think this is the best role for him. You know, we didn't lose William Regal, who's been the best general manager, the best authority figure that WWE has had this past decade. So I'm glad that Regal did not, you know, step down as general manager. We get to keep Regal, but we also got Samoa Joe in this role. I think this was the perfect, you know, microcosm of everything. And we got plenty of good wrestling on this show. We saw the debut of Blake Christian, who's now going to be known as Trey Baxter. He accepted the open challenge of Kushida for the Cruiserweight Championship. They had a very fun, you know, high-flying, back and forth matchup with Kushida getting the win with the hoverboard lock. After that match, Kyle O'Reilly was down at ringside watching the matchup, and he basically came in the ring and told Kushida that, you know, he wants to face the best, Kushida wants to face the best, and if he gets to pick his opponent for next week, it's going to be Kyle O'Reilly versus Kushida next week. And that just tickles my wrestling bone. You know, inject that into my veins. I've seen them in New Japan. I've seen them battle in Ring of Honor. They just have a great chemistry together, and this is going to be an awesome match next week. And I thought the main event was just the right type. It felt like a real fight and a real willingness to win between the Grizzled Young Veterans and, you know, Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher. It was a tornado tag match. It went, you know, pretty much all over ringside, all over the ring. I think these two teams have great chemistry together, and Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher are probably one of the better babyface tag teams in all of WWE right now, and they just have developed into a really good team. I thought Grizzled Young Veterans would get the win here because I feel like they needed the win after, you know, losing in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic Finals, as well as losing in the championship three-way back at Stand and Deliver. But this felt like a big win for Thatcher and Ciampa, and it feels like they are on their way to getting a shot at the NXT Tag Team Championships, which with their style mixed with the high-flying style of MSK will be a great matchup right there. It seems like NXT, you know, after TakeOver in Your House, and there's a reason why we didn't start the show talking about TakeOver in Your House. I like the opener. I like the main event. Everything in between was either meh or just solid. It was one of the weakest takeovers in the past like 4 years. I think it's the weakest takeover since January 2017 when they were in San Antonio. So 4 years it took for one of their weakest takeovers. And
that's not too bad.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that it wasn't a good show. It was actually a good show. It's just that takeovers have such a standard. It's like New Japan with Wrestle Kingdom or Dominion or G1. Like, you expect the best of the best on takeovers, and this wasn't that. You know, the main event was really good, even great. Even I would say the last 10 minutes was amazing, but it wasn't like a match of the year candidate, and the opener was just really fun, you know, compact action, but that wasn't a great match that's going to be like one of the best in TakeOver history. I heard some people overrating that ladder match, saying it was the best ladder match they've seen in 25 years, and it definitely wasn't that for me or anyone else with eyes and can analyze.
No, I certainly wouldn't go there, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I thought the Women's Championship match was really good, but this episode of NXT blew away in Your House, in my opinion. This was probably the best episode of NXT since they've moved to Tuesdays. Probably the best episode of NXT since like last year with Halloween Havoc. It was just so much fun, so many new stories coming together, and Samoa Joe being the enforcer of NXT is just the jolt of adrenaline and energy that this brand needs. I am so happy to have Samoa Joe back on my screens. It wasn't exactly the role I wanted him to be in. I really wanted him to return to Impact Wrestling or make the move to AEW. But if he's not able to wrestle and the most money possible is with WWE, then cash that check, Joe. And this role seems perfect for him if he's not going to wrestle, or if he's going to wrestle on occasion, which it seems to be building to by what we saw on this first episode. But I gave it an 8 out of 10. It's a B plus, A minus type of episode from NXT. And like I said, one of the best that I've seen all year.
Absolutely. Yeah, I thought it was very good. What I liked about it as well with the whole Joe thing is that for a change, they're setting stuff up. They're putting things in motion that if they want to go to it in the future, it will make sense. There'll be something they can attach to it. So they've got a lot of different avenues and it's not like fixed. They could adapt things as they go. So I kind of like that. It's unlike WWE in general to do more things like, I wish they would do more things like that, but they don't. So overall, like you, I thought Regal done pretty well as well. It's like almost like a bit of a throwback with him because he was so good. I think people forget how good he was. You know, in those times with Jericho and RVD, I think he'd done like back-to-back WrestleMania openings between 17 and 18 because he was just that good, and he ended up back as the Intercontinental Champion. Like everyone had forgot that he'd lost it, type of thing. But yeah, just before we go on, again, got to thank everybody that sends these. Carnage Pain sending a super sticker. Thank you very much, Carnage Pain. Really, really appreciate it. You know, anybody that contributes this, supports us, like I'm over the moon because, you know, we do this because we're passionate about it. But like when you guys support us in this way, man, it feels really good. And I'm very, very grateful. And that's followed up with Rachel Carnell, who I called out a little bit earlier, sending us another super sticker. Thank you very much, Rachel. Amazing supporter of us. She's been around SP3 since WrestleMania week. And I know she's been a big fan of yours as well. So like she's stuck around for both of us. She's always brings in good insight. Rachel, don't forget, send us your handle, send us your Facebook or your Twitter or whatever. And SP3 can get in touch if you want to go on and get those questions in. Get those questions
exactly.
in. I mean, your question, Rachel, I wouldn't know it. But if I had to guess what Brett Thomas will be, I think it's going to be something to do with the pools. I'm just throwing it out there.
We are giving on Tru Heel Heat 130 Brett Thomas the platform and the stage to cut his greatest Paul brother promo that he ever lived.
Exactly.
Rachel Cornell can do all the Shawn Michaels slander that she wants. She can praise Bret Hart on Tru Heel Heat 130. So I'm ready for these guys to be on this call, and you know they can ask questions to myself, Chrissy Love, and Top Guy JJ. They can talk about the latest wrestling, whatever they want to do on this call. And this special edition of Tru Heel Heat is all for the people that support us on that channel as well as here on Powered4SP3.
There you go. You heard it here. Rachel sent a question in earlier. Hello, John and SP3. So I really enjoyed NXT in your house, despite reading a lot of negative around it. I think everyone just wants perfection, but if we had that, every pay-per-view would become normal. Yeah, like SP3 said, it's probably the worst one in 4 years. So when you go on that ratio, it's very consistent, I'd say, against a lot of other stuff I've seen. But no, I'm kind of, I wouldn't say I went into it with high expectations, because actually even last week, SP3, we said the card was a little bit not up to their normal standards. So I think most people were like hesitant. I don't think we overthought anything. I just think we've become so used to having takeovers steal everything that, you know, we were kind of maybe thinking it was going to come out, something was going to come out of left field, but you know, it wasn't to be. But no big issues. Also, she follows up with, so I have a fantasy booking for Mania 38. John Cena puts his career on the line against the champion, whoever that is. Build it so Cena goes on outside non-WWE, outside non-WWE media and plants seeds. Yeah, I mean, I think I've fantasized that ages ago, to be honest with you, when they ended up doing the whole rigroll with the Undertaker that year about doing. I mean, you know, I would like it more than anything, SP3, if they really did kind of like even to the most legit hardcore fans, almost like make you think that's it for Cena. He's done. He wants to do films he just wants to do 100% films, forget wrestling, build it so heavily, like Rachel said, outside of WWE. You can't do it on WWE because we're not going to believe it. To the point where he gets to the main event and maybe for a change. I mean, I don't know what the ratio is, SP3, but I think anybody that's put their career on the line normally ends that night, as I recall. I could be wrong. I'm sure there's a little one, but in main event terms, I can't remember.
Yeah, no. Shawn Michaels, he came back 8 years later.
That's true. Well, you know, I don't count that.
Ric Flair came back in TNA.
Yeah.
Terry Funk many different times. I mean, the only person as of late that has not, come back after. No. Even the Undertaker didn't have a retirement.
Yeah, I was gonna say
he just decided that was the end for him. But yeah, it hasn't been the best ratio with people having careers on the line. It's a great thought, Rachel, but WWE has kind of desensitized their fans to stipulations like that, where you had Sonya Deville last year against Mandy Rose in a loser leaves WWE match, and then Sonya Deville came back months later and just walked on to back on SmackDown. It's just like, oh, she's back. So hey, okay.
No.
And that's why the Daniel Bryan must leave SmackDown matchup against Roman Reigns, which was a great TV match. That's why it didn't do big ratings, because nobody believes that Daniel Bryan is never going to be on SmackDown again.
Yeah, no, I get that. But I would like to see them do the story of John Cena trying to out Ric Flair's title 16 times. Like, I still think there's something there to be done with that. Whether WWE does it, I don't know. But they've had opportunities. The last time they ever really played into that, I think, was probably the SummerSlam you and I were at, SP3, many moons ago. That's the last time I can remember, because what's his face come out and screwed him for it, and I forgot his name.
John Stewart.
That's it. Yeah. So what a time that was. Brett Thomas, here he is. Hi everyone. John, wanted to say a big thanks to guys on Games and Graps, as I was nervous about getting vaccine Monday, but they helped me through it. Thanks you. Yeah, thanks. No worries, Brett. Like, I know you came on yesterday on Big Fight Weekly and said the same thing. Honestly, the guys were more than happy. I'm glad you've gone and got the vaccine. And there was nothing to worry about anyway. So keep us posted. You'll probably get the second one if, like me, wait a month or so, and you'll be all fine. Thank you for that, Brett. I will let the guys know. Rambo, I've enjoyed the heat from SP3. Got some heat then, SP3 here. Also, the Lost Treasures episode featured AEW stars looking for Andre's stuff. Worst combo, Henry and White, who both sob up way too much and would never get a good price. Do you know what? I watched some of that and I had to turn it off because it was doing my head in. They were trying, I don't know if you saw any of this, SP3, but they were trying to find a passport of Andre the Giant, and apparently there was 2 available. They went to one guy's house. I don't know if you saw it, but like, he set them up where they were going to like go on an online bidding, so they had to like try and outbid the people that were online, and they only had like 5k. It's always 5k, I've noticed, with these episodes. That's like their meter of how much they're going to bid on. Yeah. Lost Treasures, it's hit and miss for me. I think it's I think for me, I'm kind of the cloth of a real collector. So sometimes when they go around looking for these T-shirts or something that somebody's wore, or it can be a bit ridiculous. But I'm from what I understand, SP3, the idea is what they're trying to get here is trying to create a museum at some point, wherever that will come about. But some of the stuff they've got, I mean, even if they model it up, I don't know how glamorous it will all look and be, but I'm sure it would, I would definitely pay to go and see it, just because I'm a bloody nerd wrestling fan the way I am. I'd have to go and see it at least once, but I don't know if it's like a 24-hour, 20-foot like open museum, or if it's something they just do every year at like the access shows and goodness knows what else.
probably something to do at Access. Only clip I saw of the episode was when Top Dollar was with I think Big Show and trying to convince Sonny Ono to give him like a mask that Andre
Right.
wore, and
Mhm.
Top Dollar just made the stupidest comment talking about, oh, Sonny Ono has nothing to do with Andre's legacy. Oh, he's just trying to make money off of Andre's legacy. That's what y'all trying to do. Like, stop it.
Yeah, come on.
Why are
Yeah,
you the pot calling the kettle black? Like, that was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And to comment on Rambo, you know, he supports us over at Tru Heel Heat, always in the live chat, but even he was in the comments and he went on a long rant trying to disagree with us for us, you know, not really agreeing with Triple H trying to mansplain equality. And I think the issue Rambo was having is that he kept repeating himself from the same things he was saying in our live chat during the live Tru Heel Heat. He tried to say it in the comments, and I responded back to him, basically telling him the logic holes in his argument. And then he kept repeating himself over and over again. So it became a back
You will
and forth.
agree.
Yeah, it became a back and forth of me saying, no, like, you're just repeating yourself in different ways. You're saying the same thing. Rambo, I hope that you get better at debates after our whole back and forth in the comments on Tru Heel Heat 129.
There you go. And Carnage Payne, to more to this, says, I've given up on Lost Treasures as they ain't ever real collectors. It's just geeks with WWE figures in boxes on their shelves. But there are legit wrestling collectors out there. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go as bad as that. But yeah, I know what you mean. They are going to people that just collect WWE merch for the most part. And it's like, there have been some things that I've been quite intrigued about, like WrestleMania 3, whether it was the ring or not and stuff like that, which clearly it wasn't the same, like bloody ropes and God knows what else, but apparently it could have been at the bottom, but there was no way you could ever prove it. But things like that, I'm kind of fascinated in, but most of the stuff they're doing is it's kind of from the 90s, you know, late 80s. It's not sort of real what I'd call treasures. And yeah, like you say, SP3, they can be quite tight with their money, WWE. I mean, considering how much money they got, that huge warehouse full of this stuff, they're going around trying to offer 5k here, 5k here. Yeah, it probably costs them and the entire crew to get around on these plane trips more than that. So like, come on. We got 5th Gen here. I hope everyone doing well. Yes, we are. Thank you very much. Carnage Payne saying hello to him. Then we got Chris from Big Fight Weekly. All right, John and SP3. Hope you're both well and have a banging show. Yes, we always do. We always do. Lewis Young. Hi, John and SP3. Hi, Lewis. Another one of our big fans. And then we've got Carnage Payne alluding to Mambo earlier that was on our Carl Rogers. Thanks. We've got Matt Jarrett who says, hey guys, hope you're well. And he follows up with, there will be lots of events news coming soon from me. Yeah, so basically, for anybody who doesn't know Matt Jarrett, he's been lending us some amazing footage, some amazing matches lately from Super Clash. The last one we've just put up, actually, I think yesterday, is Juicing Thunder Liger up against Roy Knight, which is the brother of Paige in this country, the famous Knight family. It's well worth going out your way for. It's free as well. So, like, come on, guys. If there isn't enough incentive to go and check out Powered4.tv, these are available on our daily free matches. And yeah, we're hoping that we will have some big news from him in the coming. We've also got Rachel Carnell says, loved Regal. Yeah, that's good. 5th Gen, how do you guys feel about ACH retiring? SP3?
Yes, he put up on Instagram today basically an all black, or last night he put up an all black photo. Said he didn't want to go through like the whole spiel. He said he's going to be stepping away from professional wrestling, and it's sad. I mean, we talked last week about Leo Rush, stepping away from professional wrestling, but he's ACH is another guy who had his issues while he was in WWE. He seemed to be returning back to wrestling, working with New Japan on New Japan Strong, as well as, he was in the Super J Cup last year. So I was very hopeful for him to make that transition, after everything, the restrictions go up, that he would make the transition to New Japan proper, go over to Japan and, become a new talent for the junior heavyweight division in New Japan that definitely desperately needs talent influx. But it's unfortunate that he's another guy that it seems like mental health is getting in the way and probably the main reason why he wants to step away from professional wrestling. So wish him all the best, and hopefully he can find happiness outside of the square circle. But he is such a talented guy that I'm hopeful that maybe in a few years he will return back. But for now, just wish him the best.
Yeah, absolutely. My thoughts with that as well. And also Fifth Gen also saying KOR Kushida seemed to always put on a great match. Yeah, I'm not. I don't think I've seen it yet. SP3 is the man to ask here, but you would agree, I guess.
Well, they're going to verse each other next week on NXT. I've seen them in the Best of the Super Juniors finals about 5-6 years ago in New Japan, and it was an absolute banger, one of the best matches of the year that year, and an all-time classic for the junior heavyweight division. So I'm sure if they get time, 15-20 minutes on next week's NXT, we're going to be talking about it as one of the TV matches of the year.
Yeah, that'll be good. And Carl Rogers himself has just come on. Hi, guys. Just did my big interview with Charles Crowley. Great stuff, Carl. And like I said, people, go check out Carl's Wrestling on YouTube. Give him a like, give him a subscribe. He's, like I say, he's 30 away from 100. It would be amazing for him to get to that milestone. No doubt about it. And lastly, Fifth Gen again, I had heard rumors that they were trying to make a standalone museum in Orlando. Yeah, that's what I'd heard, but then I don't know, since that was probably pre the pandemic and all the rest of it. I don't know if that is still in motion or not, but they do need, it's like they need a Hall of Fame. They need like a proper something you can, like, tangible, that you can go and see. WWE just doesn't have that. All we have is the website that takes people in and out as it chooses sometimes. So to actually have a physical one, I think would be pretty cool. I would be quite up for that, along with having all these collectors stuff that they have in their warehouse, rather than just being stuck in a warehouse. Like, it was funny, SP3, because I'd heard that I think it was there was a piece shown from Kane and Jim Cornette back in '97, I believe it was, that went around recently, a bit of footage, and it was Jim Cornette showing Glenn Jacobs at the time, before he was Kane, or maybe just after he debuted, how to sit up correctly like the Undertaker, because he was kind of like wobbling his legs too much, or just wasn't doing it kind of right. And about the third time he got it spot on. But they said that they used to leave those tapes on in that when they were doing these performance stuff, like 24/7, in case they ever needed to go back and just look at something. But they were never expected them to go out and just air on anything. But they're all there, and you think, blimey, like, why aren't WWE using some of this stuff? Like, that would be gold. That would be magic. Like, every now and then I see clips that I think, I don't think I've ever seen that. But then everything else I've seen 10, 20 times over. And I kind of wish they would, if they've got access to some of that stuff. I'm not saying show us everything, but like, I think it's fair to say some of the 80s and 90s, I think there's quite a lot of intrigue to do in their own documentaries. So that would be my thing, just my own personal preference, I guess, to that. Moving on, we've got AEW in the red. Forbes article. Tell us about this in SP3.
Yeah, a really good Forbes article came out yesterday where they interviewed Tony Khan about AEW and the success that they've had, since coming into existence in 2019. They got the TV deal with Warner Media. They got the extension for 4 years for $175 million. In the article, they talked about how AEW has already received about $43.5 million from TNT as far as, you know, their funds, as far as their contract, and that's been the majority of their profits that they've made. But the company is still in the red because they are spending 8 figures on their video game projects, which is their console video game that we saw, you know, footage and pictures of a couple of months back on AEW Games. So it's understandable when you're only been in existence for 2 years that you're still going to be in the red, especially with the new contract not really kicking in until later this year. They've already added another hour of television, but it was a very nice article to kind of give the best business perspective of AEW and talk about it from, you know, all sides, about the success, how it came to existence. They really talked about how, you know, Tony Khan was a wrestling fan from very young. Ironically, he was born the same year that Vince McMahon kind of destroyed the territory era of professional wrestling in 1982. He was only about like 16 years old in 1996, or 15 years old in 1996 when he went to his first ECW event. They interviewed Shad Khan about his investment in the company, how he invested $100 million in the company to kind of get it started up. So they were able to run live shows, able to sign all the best talent. Talked about his whole plan. They interviewed also Cody to talk about when he first met Tony Khan. So it was a very great, like, overall perspective of AEW, talking about their success and the fact that they've, you know, are the first big promotion to kind of challenge WWE in a lot of ways in over 2 decades, and what they've done for the wrestling industry and really bringing more eyes to the industry, as well as, you know, giving fans that were already here in professional wrestling a new outlet and a new, you know, platform to watch new competitors, as well as old competitors from the past that WWE either weren't utilizing well or didn't want to utilize. So it was a great overall, you know, article. I definitely would suggest anyone who is a fan or not a fan of AEW, you will get something out of it, maybe something to criticize them for or something to talk about. But I think the most interesting part, excuse me, was the fact that they were, you know, in the red. Also, there was a picture, you know, with the talent roster, and they had the Big Show Paul White there in new wrestling attire. So it seems like we are going to get a return to the ring for Paul White. From this article that we saw, you know, he had brand new gear. He looked very nice in it, but a lot of great things to come out of this article, and it gives you like the overall picture of how AEW got from like point A to where they are now, where they're about to go to TBS with, you know, even more money to their deal. They're about to get a 3rd hour of television with Rampage. So good, you know, a good overall perspective on AEW in a time where, you know, there's been a lot of negative. Their last Friday night.
Always
Dynamite.
negative.
Of course. Their last Friday night Dynamite only drew 487,000 viewers, but you know, that's understandable with the move to Friday night at 10 p.m. Not the most ideal. Of course. See, rambling Rambo always. What about their ratings? Their ratings overall on Wednesday nights are far exceeding what Warner Media initially projected for them. Warner Media originally projected 500,000 viewers for them, and they exceeded that by plenty. They did over 800,000 was their average for their first year. Their second year was about like 850,000, with them being solo without NXT on against them. They've averaged about 900,000. And on Friday nights, it's a new time slot. They're getting fans used to that time slot. So they've been doing between about 460,000 to about 580,000 viewers in that time slot, which is probably what Warner Media expected them to do at Fridays at 10 p.m. because the fans that they are trying to get are not going to watch at that time, and they're going to get higher numbers on their DVR than watching live at that time.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And man, look, another super chat, man. It's been coming in. Like, I've gone from the first one earlier. Massive thanks to you, College Bank. Thank you for that story as well. Like I say, it tickled me.
Me and you are the
Stu
draws, John. We're the draws. We're drawing.
We're the draws. We're the we're both the A side of the cassette this week. On the money side. But yeah, thank you very much, Carnage Pain. I love those kind of stories, especially from old footage. Like, tell me as well, like what else your friend's got. If he's got a collection of tapes, I'm very intrigued, because I know back in the day I was a huge tape collector and passing them around and goodness knows what else. Before a time of the internet, and it was really difficult, is when we actually had to send letters to one another sometimes, if anybody knows what one of them is. Also, Brett Thomas, they're similar AEW to TNA. Not really, no, completely different, I think, in that sense. I mean, if you're talking about the business side, it's like chalk and cheese. I don't think TNA ever run it correctly and made decent profit on any of their years from what I remember. But again, they had like a lot of backing. They had backing from Panda and Dixie Carter's family and goodness knows what else. But if you were running it as a business, it wasn't very successful. They threw a lot of money at it, yes, but it wasn't something like an outside investor would look at and go, yeah, I fancy a crack at that, because they would have looked at it like there's nothing here.
They started in 2002. I don't think they made their first profit until 2008. So that's 6 years it took them to make a profit for TNA.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, like you said, they did a lot of things wrong. Like, you know, Tony Khan and AEW were forced to be at Daly's Place due to the pandemic, where, you know, they weren't able to have fans in attendance, you know, over a couple of months. I think back in November was the first time they actually started ticketing fans, you know, to see their events live. TNA were out, you know, running out of the Asylum and then the Universal Studios, where they were running free shows. You basically went to Universal Studio and you could go to see TNA Impact, and that was free shows for so long. So they were not making money for a long time.
No, absolutely. And fifth gen as well, Shed Khan's attitudes towards his money, how he thinks his son should spend some of it while he's still alive. Then rather after he's dead, seems to be about the exact opposite of VKM. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that I've only seen snippets of the whole published, so I've got to read it properly, because I know sometimes these snippets are like, look at this for a reason, but it looks quite very fascinating. And you know, I know a little bit about Shad Khan because of all his sports interests and what he does, and you know, he's a smart guy. You know, although he's letting his son do this, at the same time, he's not just gone, here, son, go and, you know, spend it on whatever you want. You know, he knows at the end of the day, this has got to do well. And if I remember SP3, Shad Khan, we saw him a lot before any TV days he was around a lot more. And I know some of the wrestlers talk to him as well. So he's always there. People just think it's Tony Khan, but like Shad Khan is always there in the background. Like he's not stupid. He wants to see what's going on at the same time. I'm not saying he directs anything or anything like that, but he definitely has his finger on the pulse with AEW, regardless of what people think. So yeah, thank you very much for those questions.
I love that comment from Chad Khan about, you know, he didn't think it was a good idea, but he's like, I'm going to leave you and your sister money anyway, so you might as well spend it while I'm still alive. And he's, you know, his son really was given his role with the Jaguars when Shad Khan became an owner. He was given his role on Fulham when he became the owner of that team.
I mentioned that.
This is like Tony Khan's baby. This is something that he's developed and put together himself. And you know, he's living in the dream, honestly. That's why I don't understand, as a wrestling fan, how you can be like critical or look at Tony Khan in a negative way. I understand if you're a Fulham fan, you have your feelings about him there. If you're a Jaguars fan, you have your feelings about him there. But when it comes to professional wrestling, I think we would all love to start our own promotion. And he's living the dream. He's living a dream that he started as when he was 14 years old, going to ECW. So I don't understand why anybody can be critical of him. It honestly comes across as jealousy.
Yeah, and I think, you know, they see him on these interviews and they look at him like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing just because his mannerisms and stuff. And you got to come away from it. You know, the first time I really took notice of Tony Khan in wrestling, not in anything else, but in wrestling, he went on to Steve Austin's podcast. And I think they both sat there and reviewed one of their shows. And Austin, you know, Austin never bullshits anybody. He just tells you. And
Yeah.
he gave him critiques. He gave him like little do this, do that. And Tony Khan was so like respectful from a legend like Steve Austin. He was like, I'm going to take that on board. And I thought, like, this guy's willing to learn. He's willing to listen. He's not just not going to go in there with an ego and go, right, I know what I'm doing. And let everybody else run it. So, you know, I think there's more to him than what people see. I'm kind of like, I wish sometimes like people would understand that, but I know there is this kind of will to want one or the other. But yeah, I think he's extremely intelligent. He is like a top end numbers guy. I mean, this guy knows his stuff. I remember it. And when he was on Austin's podcast, he's a true fan. He knew all the old school stuff. Like he knew all the territory stuff, some great angles. Like he was smart. He wasn't just like a 90s attitude era type fan. No, he went, you know, he's done his research. So yeah, anyway, just my little going on a tangent there to defend poor old Tony.
I think you mentioned one of the best qualities about AEW was the fact that they listen to, you know, legends, and they listen to fans. Like stuff like the Dark Order wasn't working out when they originally, you know, came to existence. But what did he do? He listened to the fans, he restructured things, and he brought in Brody Lee that kind of transformed them as an act. When they were first starting out, people were upset the Young Bucks weren't the tag team champions, weren't at the top or what they were in Ring of Honor. He just did the course. He used them to put over teams like Private Party, Santana and Ortiz, and then they eventually won the titles. When they won the titles, people were like, oh, this is not working out. We don't want to see the Young Bucks at baby faces. He turns them heel, and now they've been one of the best acts in the entire company. Kenny Omega, similar thing with him. They were like, why is Kenny Omega losing so much? Why is Kenny Omega not having these great matches like he was in New Japan? Now he's the belt collector. He has 4 titles from 3 different promotions. He's had great matches with Rey Fenix, Pac, Orange Cassidy. The list goes on and on. He's about to have another great match with Jungle Boy. He had a great match with Moose in Impact Wrestling at Against All Odds over the weekend. So it's very telling that Tony Khan is a wrestling fan, and he remains a wrestling fan, even though he's the owner of a company, and he listens to other wrestling fans to kind of have the product in a way where it's ever evolving. And it's something that, you know, us fans are not used to, because we've dealt with a company with a 70-year-old man who will never listen to us and only cares about the bottom line.
He'll probably never leave us either. No, Vince. Yeah. Moving on, just quickly here, SP3, we've got John Cena's return confirmed. Again, this has been making the rounds for probably the last couple of months, really, expected. But yeah, he's confirmed now. SP3, what news have we got from this one then? And when are we likely to see John Cena start anything and in the WWE again?
So this was confirmed during an interview with Chris Van Vliet that came out yesterday. It was to promote his next movie, which is, of course, the Fast 9, the next edition of Fast and Furious that he's a part of. And he talked about a number of different things, but one thing he did confirm is that he will be returning to WWE. Chris Van Vliet said, you know, it's not a thing of if you will return, it's about when you will return. And Cena confirmed, yeah, it's about when I will confirm. He was like, I miss wearing the jorts. So he says it's about time that he puts those back on. He also talked about how, you know, WWE has changed, where, you know, for years fans have been asking for John Cena to turn heel. And he talked about how WWE has really had the time to kind of build to the future for like the next decade. You got stars like Roman Reigns, who's a very marketable star, who it makes it possible for him to turn heel. And the Roman Reigns' whole act with him becoming a heel and being more over than he ever was, with them trying to make him the top babyface for so long, it means that things have changed. He was like, he's not sure, maybe he doesn't know, was his exact quote, but he says that it is a possibility now more than it ever was before. So a lot of great things will come out of this. There's been a lot of reports from Wrestling Observer, as well as Andrew Zarian of the Matman podcast, then John Cena will return on the July 16th SmackDown. That's going to be the first live event with fans in attendance when they go back on the road. He will be, and they have been saying that he will be a part of the planned main event for SummerSlam in Las Vegas against Roman Reigns, which should be the type of main event that can pack that stadium, 60,000, 70,000 fans there. So I'm looking forward to John Cena returning. I think John Cena has been great in his last couple of runs with the company, and he's the biggest star since the Attitude Era. And you put him with the other biggest star since the Attitude Era, Roman Reigns, that's a money matchup. I know we've seen it before, but these are two totally different performers now. Cena's had his time in Hollywood, so Roman could be the John Cena to John Cena's The Rock. We can see a switch of the roles where, Roman could be like, I've been the guy putting in the work, staying here while you've been out in Hollywood. And Cena can now adjust to that and react to that, which he is great at reacting and cutting promos.
Yep.
So it's a lot of great layers that can happen with this matchup between Cena and Reigns.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And like you say, although it's happened before, the first time round, although they were being a little bit like, aren't we good? Because we're kind of like, we're not on script, and John Cena was calling it like other things. At the same time, it was like, I felt like WWE were trying too hard to pass the torch at that point, and it just was never really going to work. So I think this time round, like you say, SP3, they've kind of got Roman on a completely new level to one John Cena has not seen or not been around in the presence of. So that moves us on very nicely to this next one. Plans for Roman Reigns to turn babyface. I tell you, when you sent this one to me, SP3, I got a little bit worried. I'll be honest with you. I'm a little bit worried because it could go terribly wrong if it's executed wrong, and then he starts coming out doing what he was trying to do before. I think if I was them, I would keep him very much this attitude, this no nonsense, kind of like Brock Lesnar. Like Brock Lesnar, kind of, he's a heel, but then fans like to cheer him sometimes because they know he's a bit of a badass, like he does whatever he wants, kind of thing. That's his attitude. I want to see this remain with Roman. I want to see them keep some elements from this character that we're seeing now. I do not want to see him come out and just playing up to the crowd too much, because it doesn't work. But I'm hoping, praying almost that will happen. But what is the time scale of this, you think, SP3? Would I wait till next year's WrestleMania or before then?
I think it's gonna be after they do the Roman Reigns versus The Rock matchup, which could happen at WrestleMania 38. There's been plans for The Rock to return at Survivor Series, since this year's Survivor Series will be 25 years since his debut in WWE at Survivor Series 1996. That was at Madison Square Garden in New York, and there's been plans that this year's Survivor Series will be in Brooklyn at the Barclays Center. So a lot of symmetry there. And that could be the start of a whole feud that builds to WrestleMania with Rock and Roman Reigns. So I think it's going to happen after they do that match, whether it's at WrestleMania 38 or WrestleMania 39. But it's kind of always been the plan, in my opinion. That's been obvious with the way they've been booking Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns has not been booked as like a cowardly heel that, runs away from his challengers. He's been very dominant against most of the people that he's went up against. He beat, Jey Uso clean. He beat Roman. He beat Daniel Bryan and Edge pretty much on his own, stacked them up and beat them 1, 2, 3. He beat Cesaro on his own at WrestleMania Backlash. So they've been building him up in a way where, yes, he is a heel, but he's been so dominant and so head and shoulders above the rest. It's kind of obvious that the long game is to make him a babyface. And it's just like, why, WWE, couldn't you do this years ago? If you would have done this in 2016, he would already be the top babyface now. But it's kind of just, like what they did with The Rock in 1997, when he wasn't getting over as a babyface. They turned him heel with the Nation, and then he eventually became one of their top babyfaces. In modern era, it's similar to what they did with Tetsuya Naito in New Japan. They made him a hero, a part of Los Ingobernables de Japón, tone, and then he eventually became the anti-hero and the fan favorite and became their top merch seller when it came to LIJ merch. So this was reported by Dave Meltzer of Wrestling Observer. He says that the overall long-term plan is for Roman Reigns to become a become a babyface once again and become the top babyface for WWE, but it's all about them, laying down the groundwork for someone to fill his spot as the top heel, which I don't think they've done very well. On the other hand, he also did note that it's kind of the similar plan that what AEW have with Kenny Omega, in that they're making him the top heel to eventually become the top babyface. But I feel like AEW have done a much better job of building the stars around him. Like, although Kenny Omega has defeated guys like, Rey Fenix on his own, he's needed help to beat the, Pac and Orange Cassidy back at Double or Nothing. He needed help against John Moxley. So he's been building the people around him and making them look strong. Even in his time in Impact Wrestling, he needed help to beat Moose at Against All Odds. So it's making Moose seem like a greater challenge. It seemed like someone that he couldn't beat on his own. So I think they've been doing a better job of building the stars around them in AEW than what they're doing in WWE. But it makes sense for Roman Reigns to eventually become the top babyface for WWE with the way he's been booked. And speaking of AEW, I do want to note we got breaking news. It just was announced about a couple of minutes before we went live that AEW will be coming to New York City in Queens, in Flushing, Queens.
SP3.
In Flushing, Queens on September 22nd. They're going to be running from the Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York City. Chris Jericho talked about it on Busted Open Radio, I believe. He said there are a lot of people who are excited to see things done a little bit differently, and I think that's one of the reasons why we're making our debut in New York City in a stadium WWE's never been in. I'm sure we could have gone to the Garden or done the Barclays Center, but those do have a WWE brush on them. Let's go somewhere else and make it our own New York market arena. Let's go to Arthur Ashe Stadium, and that now becomes an AEW stronghold in the middle of New York, which is a McMahon country. So a very interesting move. I mean, I'm not one that goes to Queens very often, but this may motivate me to go to Queens. And also, speaking of, arena and event announcement, New Japan also announced this morning that they are going to be doing the Tokyo Dome show that they had rescheduled on May 29th because of the COVID outbreak. They are now going to be having it on July 25th. That's a Sunday. And the main event is going to be Shingo Takagi defending the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship against Kota Ibushi, as well as they're going to have two shows at the MetLife Dome in Japan on September 4th and 5th. So big news for New Japan, but very big news for AEW running a stadium for the first time, especially in New York City. That's huge.
Yeah, that's going to be good. Your neck of the woods, SP3, like everything comes through New York, right? Fifth Gen saying that as well, that the way the Arthur Ashe Arena is set up looks like it will be very good for a wrestling. Yeah, I mean, I don't know too much about it. I've got to be honest with you. I'm very unfamiliar with that thing. I'm sure you know it better than I do, SP3. But like you say, they're going to somewhere that it's New York, it's WWE territory, if you will. However, it's a place they haven't been in, which I think is a better idea than trying to get into MSG and making some sort of, I don't know. It becomes internally like, oh, it's a statement, but really the general population doesn't care if you've gone into WWE's home of MSG. I know that a couple of years back we had Ring of Honor there trying to do something similar, but I think sometimes you're better off just trying to do your own thing and creating something new. And it's a great opportunity for them to go to somewhere in New York with that audience in a brand new location. So kudos to them for sorting that out. SP3, we are at the end of our show. It's been a crazy, frantic hour of questions and insight as always. I want to thank everybody who has contributed, especially with the super chats as well. Very, very grateful for all those from you guys. But SP3, it's that time of the show where first off, I've got to plug Powered 4, and I've got to say to get over there because very soon, just this past weekend, Chicagoland Championship Wrestling did their first tapings since last October. I heard from the man himself, Mr. John Bullard, and he says it was fantastic. He says it's going to be a real show to watch again. So we're really looking forward to getting that onto Powered4.tv. Also, people asking about TNT Extreme Wrestling. Yes, in the UK, probably unfamiliar to you, SP3, but we've had our restrictions slightly extended, so it was gonna like sort of tidy up by the 21st, but now it's moved on. However, I've got it from the horse's mouth, Jay Apter himself, that it still goes ahead because he only sold it at part capacity in any case. So all their risk assessments, everything they already agreed with, is still a go for that weekend. TNT Extreme Wrestling will still take place. So that's next week, I believe. So we're really looking forward to getting into that. And there's only one code that you need to know to get in and use it. It's very simple. It's the man on the screen. Use the code SP3, get 50% off your first month. Like I say, and I'm not just throwing this out for campaigning, we're going to start to get a lot of new stuff in now. Like it's come around quick, but especially from July and August. So sign up now, check out what we've got already. You're not going to want to miss it. And just quickly, last just from 5th Gen. Thanks for answering questions. Thanks for, no worries, 5th Gen. You have a great rest of the day as well. But SP3, it's that time where you've got to get the Filofax out / PA, wherever that is, and tell us where you're going to be this week all over YouTube.
Yes, you can find me over on the Wrestling Daily YouTube channel later today, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. BST, on the latest Wrestling Daily with myself and Alex McCarthy. We're going to have a debate for the first time in 2 weeks. He wasn't on 2 weeks ago. It was me and Louie. Then we had Doc Gallows last week. Definitely check out our interview and Q&A with Doc Gallows. A great episode there. But me and Alex, we're going to go at it on our debate this week, have a bunch of fun like the Daily Boys always do. And you can become a member of Wrestling Daily now. Contribution, I believe it's about $5 a month. You'll get exclusive content. You'll be able to, have an emoji, have a Daily Boys emoji with myself and Alex, a good money emoji, or just be a good egg like the rest of the folks over there on Wrestling Daily. So definitely support over there. You can find me on the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel twice on Friday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern Time in the U.S., afternoon, 4 p.m. BST for you folks in the UK. I'm going to go live with Andrew Thompson of Post Wrestling for the WWE Hell in a Cell pay-per-view preview. We're going to break down the card. We're going to be talking about all the matches and give our predictions for each and every match from the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. And then later that evening, following SmackDown, of course, it's the SmackDown post-show Smack Talk with myself, the returning Rick Ucchino, and of course, wrestling legend Dutch Mantel. We're going to be talking about everything that happens on Friday Night SmackDown, the go-home show to Hell in a Cell. Yes, sharpen your mustaches for Dutch. He always loves that. And then Saturday, the huge show, Tru Heel Heat 130, our special call-in edition. Rachel Cornell, Brett Thomas, all you folks that have supported us by super chats, super stickers, $1 or more. You guys have been very supportive of the Tru Heel Heat YouTube channel for our first month of monetization. So we want to give back to you guys and give you the opportunity to come on Tru Heel Heat 130 on Saturday. Join us live. So we still need your social media handles so we can message you the link and be a part of that show. It's going to be huge. We're going to be previewing Hell in a Cell, talking about all the latest wrestling news, including the big event coming to New York City in September for AEW. Hopefully I can get media credentials and you can see me there. I'll try to be there live for all of you folks.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, SP3, what a great opportunity that will be for you now with them sort of moving around again and on your doorstep almost. So let's hope that happens because I know you do a fantastic job. Okay, last couple of comments before we say goodbye. We've got, you know what, I was thinking this could possibly have been the first show in perhaps forever that we hadn't had mention of either Jake Paul or Logan Paul, but no. that streak continues. It's like the Undertaker's streak. It's never going to finish. I don't think this one will ever end, though. That's what I'm thinking, because we got so close, but he's dropped it in. He's like, hang on a minute, I forgot one thing. Jake said he's feeling good about his fight in August. Well, that's great news. It's a great weight off my shoulder. I'm sure it is for you as well, SP3, to know Jake Paul is feeling good about that fight, and not till August as well. So yeah, there you go. And Brett Thomas also saying, "What's Kevin?" What he means there, but yeah, very good.
Great line from Miss Chrissy Love on Tru Heel Heat 128.
Oh, I know what he's talking about now.
We asked her to predict between Nick Aldis and Trevor Murdoch, and she picked Kevin. So we said, "Who's Kevin?"
I'd tell you, that's a great merch. That's what I said to you guys. I put it in the comments. You guys probably get a t-shirt now. Who's Kevin on it? And people can just maybe people can just customize who that actually is. And there's a question mark on it. But yes, I get the context now. Thank you very much, Brett. Thank you, as always, SP3, for your time, your knowledge. Look forward to seeing you in the week. Thank you again for everybody that's popped along. Don't forget to like, subscribe to us on Powered4.tv. Be very, very grateful for all the shares. Goodness knows what else. SP3, obviously, we'll be back next week. Have a good week, Mr. SP3, and I'm sure you will. Enjoy your live debate tonight. Go over there, check out Alex McCarthy, Wrestling Daily. I'm sure it'll be very good. The last one, I think I saw you guys. I think he said he... I think it's the first one you've lost, SP3. I think was the one I was watching. I can't remember the topic, but I'm sure Alex. I remember him saying it's the only time.
Best rookie year in WWE history.
That's right.
I compared Ronda Rousey to Jackie Robinson. So I
thought he would go with Kurt Angle, but he didn't.
I should have went with like Kurt Angle because I knew he would go with Brock, but I had to go with Ronda Rousey. I got to fit my gimmick. I am the Brett Thomas to Ronda Rousey's Jake Paul. So
there you go. Thank you very much. Okay, guys, we'll see you next week. Take care, everybody.